All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the From the Farmyard podcast. Um, so because Thanksgiving is coming up, we decided to talk about meat birds with y'all today. Um, and maybe you want to raise your own or raise to sell, or maybe you already have some. Like, I did this year, and I know Zach did as well. Um, this is for anyone. It's basically a what we do with ours and an all in all how to. So without
A
further
beginner's
ado,
guide to beaver.
yep, without further ado, here we go. This is our fifth episode.
Crazy.
Time flies.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what breed of meat bird? Now we're talking about meat chickens, meat turkeys, and did you say something about ducks?
Yes, meat ducks.
Okay. I've only
There are
raised chickens, so you're gonna be the turkey duck guy in this one.
okay. Okay.
Now, there's a lot of breeds for all species. So you want to say what breeds you use?
Yes. You can any breeds can be considered a meat breed, but these are the ones that grow faster than their counterparts in ducks, turkeys, and chickens. I I haven't tried duck yet. We just got a couple. They just had them, and we were like, "Hey, that's a color we don't have." Pekin ducks, Cornish cross, chickens and broad-breasted white turkeys, and I do believe there's a midget white turkey that gets only like 20 pounds instead of like 30 to 40 pounds, which is what the broad-breasted whites can get up to.
Yeah, I want to do meat turkeys next year. I think it would be an interesting adventure to go down. But like you said, there are breeds of chickens. All chickens can be used as meat. I don't like to look at it that way. I like to just get the meat birds and say there are birds bred specifically for your freezer. That's the way I like to say it. So the breeds that we raise are Cornish cross. That's what we do. And they're an all around good, fat, stupid bird. They're not the smartest. You gotta ahead of time. They're not very smart, but they're for your freezer, so it's yeah.
You're good. The ones that I raise the Cornish cross and the broad-breasted whites, like I said. The Pekin ducks, ours are just pets. We're not using them for meat. But next year, because I have too many drakes per hen, or not enough hens per drake, is a better way to say it. I'm going to let them hatch out. I'm going to hatch out a couple batches or one large batch of duck eggs and let those go. Any females, I'll keep some just to even my numbers out and then sell the rest. And then the males, they're going right to the freezer. I'm not keeping any more males, as hard as that is. Or I might, if I sell females, I might sell a breeding um, group of male and a couple females, or just females. But yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing
We
in the future. And
raise
those won't be Pekin ducks either, because I don't think I'm going to use the Pekin eggs. But I don't know. Sorry for cutting you off.
no, you're fine, you're fine. We have done Cornish cross for a couple years now, and they're a really solid meat bird breed. They're large, they're they they're good meat. They're chill birds. They're not mean or anything. They're just fat and they lay around a lot. So you don't have to worry about like mean. They may peck your fingers off when you try to feed them though, because they're hungry little beasts. They are.
Yeah.
But there's when raising a meat bird, food is a big thing. You're feeding an animal that you're gonna be eating. So food there you're gonna be putting a lot of food into it. So there's a lot of different foods you can use. Um, chicken foods, I guess. But we use Nature's Best organic starter grower chick food. And we feed chick food all the way till when they're ready to butcher because meat birds for what we use because they're meat, we don't need them to lay, so we don't have to feed them a laying pellet supplement. We just feed chick food all the way through. If you're looking to breed or want to have eggs from them, I think you can do that. You do that, don't you?
I did that where I'm at now, and then but the actual flock of birds for the Cornish cross that I'm going to use for meat or for eggs and then use their children for meat are actually staying with the person that I take mine to be processed. She really liked my story and said that she would house them for me because she thought that what I was doing was really, really cool and no one else that she's ever heard of doing it. So I do breed them. Our first group took 10 months to lay their first egg, even with layer food. And the rooster to that group was kind of mean. I'm not gonna lie. He wasn't mean until after they started laying, so long after they would have already been gone. And then the second group actually started laying 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
general time for chickens.
Yep. So what do you feed your meat birds?
I do more chick feed.
Yeah.
I just use that for all my chicks and then all my meat birds, and those do for the turkeys. I ended up switching them to a layer feed, not because I thought they needed it. They just liked the pellets better. And I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you're fine. And it had scratch mixed in with it, which I liked. But they get layer or the starter grower all the way up until they go. There is a meat bird food, but it's less in protein compared to the chick food. So
Right.
most people just use the chick food all the way through. And it's the meat bird specific feed is more expensive for a smaller size bag. So it's just more economical to get the chick food, which is more protein. They're going to grow faster and it's cheaper. So
So while we're on the topic of feed, how often do you feed them? Because meat chickens go through a lot of food, so this is something like we feed daily, obviously. Meat birds eat a lot of food, so take that into consideration before you want to raise meat birds. You're feeding them every day. You're going through bags of feed very often, and it's all dependent upon the size of the flock that you have, right? So take that into consideration. You're not just getting birds and feeding them, once in a while. These things eat a lot. They eat a lot. um but you don't want to feed them too much because meat birds will eat and eat and eat and they don't have a limit. So they will act like they're starving, but they're not. So you need to set a limit and stick with it. And like I said, it's dependent upon the size of the flock you have. But there's that.
I had a 3 pound feeder for, I think, and this is when I was using a feeder for them. I think I had 20 to 30 birds in the tractor that I used. And
That's about what we do.
they were, I think they ate that. It took them a little while longer to eat the 3 pounds, but it was still, they were eating that in a day.
Yeah.
The entire 30 pounds throughout the entire day. Like they'd eat a big amount and they'd just stop. But then at night, they'd go back and pick throughout the entire day. They'd go back and eat. So do definitely keep that into consideration when you are trying to look at everything. Don't get 100 meat birds and expect them to not go through a lot of feed, because they will go through a lot of feed very quickly.
But in the end, I mean, it's always a good reward. It always is. When you sit down at the table and you've got your meat that you raised on your farm, it's always a good feeling. It really is.
Absolutely.
So, next, because I'm going down the list of questions because this is like a all in all how to beginner. So we're trying to teach y'all how to do this. So next we have basic care. Now we went through feeding, and because the food is dry, obviously it's water. They can have as much water as they want. It's like any other animal, monitor the water, obviously. But pens. Meat birds are fat and lazy. I think I've said that a couple times. But they are, and they're not the smartest. So you don't need like a chicken coop with like roosting bars, or because at least my meat birds do not roost. They lay on the ground because they're just chubby.
Yeah,
But
even when I had my like mine that I think they're almost 3. Now they never used a roosting bar at all. Never
yeah.
stepped foot on a roosting bar. They would sleep. I had a doghouse pulled apart because it was one that had the top and the bottom all clipped
Mm-hmm.
together. I took it apart, had 2 different sides. They laid in one side and they all slept in the other side. It was a little cramped, but they preferred sleeping and piling on top of each other than using a roosting bar or splitting up.
Now, last episode we talked about coops. If you haven't watched it, I'll have it linked at the end of the video, most likely, but you could check that out. We talked about coops and basic chicken care. So in the video, I know we talked about the different types of coops that there are. And one of the things we said was tractor pens. And tractor pens are really, really convenient for meat poultry, because you're able to rotate the pens and the birds just like sit on the ground, and like I said, they don't need a roost. So with meat birds, tractor pens are really convenient. And to explain what a tractor pen is, tractors set on the ground and you rotate them. We like to rotate our pens every other day because the meat birds, along with as much as they eat, they also poop a lot. So it just gets caked up on the ground. And so you don't want that. So we rotate every other day, so they can get fresh grass and they're not lying in their poop all the time. So they stay clean. They also stay healthy. It's like an all in all rotational thing. And that's why I like chicken tractors, but that's what we use for our meat birds. I don't know what you use. What do you use for meat poultry?
I use a. Sorry, we're gonna go on a little walk right now. I'm curious about something, but I use meat. Yes, I eat meat, but I use tractors for my bird. I have the tractors, and the tractors work really well for me.
Mhm.
And I can fit probably about 30, like you said, in the tractor.
Mm-hmm.
And they work really well. I also used the dog kennel that I had.
Yeah, yeah.
That also worked very well.
And the
Sorry,
cool thing,
I am.
Oh no, it's good. It's good. The cool thing about tractors, when you rotate, it's good for you and the bird, because not only are the birds getting fresh grass, but you're also fertilizing your lawn. All that chicken crap just like soaks into the ground and you get like the greenest grass ever. That's another cool thing that we love whenever we rotate our pens. Like it's just we get the greenest grass ever. It's so cool. Because the
Yes.
chicken poop is so healthy. It's so good for the ground and stuff.
Yes, it is. And I have mine stationary. They're stationary, which I don't like because it's not. I would prefer moving them. I just don't have the space to where I am right now. But I would love to do that eventually.
Right.
But they were fine. And I also, to add on to that, I used pelletized bedding after they ate the grass in whatever area that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the best thing? Not necessarily, but it was better than them laying in dirt and
Yeah.
poop and all that.
Whenever we rotate, the chicken poop is pretty caked up. So we will take a hose and we'll just like spray it, and it moves the poop and it spreads it out a little bit better, so it doesn't leave dead spots in your yard either, because that's another thing that we do.
Yeah.
But I think that's everything for that, taking care of meat birds. I think next is the whole processing and butchering. And I do not butcher the meat birds. I do not do that. I feed the birds, so that's something that I'm comfortable talking with. That's why I kind of talked more about that right there, but butchering and processing is not something that I do yet. Maybe someday, but not as of now. But there's things that
I also
go ahead.
Sorry, I cut you off. You keep going.
No, go ahead. I'm just
Sorry. I don't process my birds myself either. We take them to a lady that's 45 minutes from us, and she does everything. She tests them too, making sure there's no illnesses or anything. She said our birds were some of the cleanest that she had ever seen, and she said they all look great inside and out. And she said that she had one lady who brought her 100 birds.
Yeah.
She told her not to bring them yet, but then she brought them and she tested them, and she said they look awful. She said she wouldn't give them back to her.
Ugh.
Like
That's
they were
sad.
not because they were like, not just because like they didn't look awful on the outside, but on the inside they just were not right. And she said I wouldn't give them back to her. She got really upset with me, but I told her they're not safe for you to eat. And
Right.
as much as I hated it, she tests them, and I trust doing them. She does turkeys, ducks, chickens, pigs, sheep, peacocks.
Wow.
Anything except for a cow. And I think she would even do that, but she had a peacock that she had bought. Like, they're not cheap if you know about peacocks. An adult peacock, and she bought him, and he attacked her one time. She said, "I'm giving you one more chance." And the next day she was out there, he attacked her, and the next night he was on the table for dinner.
Oh, wow.
So she does not play. She says anything that disturbs the peace in my valley will get eaten.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I do also, I want to take the class because she also does a class and teaches people. I want to learn how to do it. I just, where I'm at right now, it's not, we don't have the setup for it right now. But like later down the road, when I'm able to have the setup, I would love to learn how to process them. And my sister wants to too. She wants to just go ahead and take the class. I think she'd enjoy it a little too much though.
I don't know if I'd trust your sister to take that class, honestly.
The woman that we take them to, she said, "I will let you be my assistant for the whole day." That's like a whole big butcher party type thing.
Oh my gosh.
They have 200 to 300 birds or whatever there, and they go through everything, package it. She shows you how to do everything.
That's cool. That's really cool. You should do that. That would be fun. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be fun per se. It'd be a good learning experience.
Yes, I would definitely want to learn how to do it though, because I do think it's a skill that is very good to have, especially when you're raising your own birds. And as many as I'm doing a year, like I'm doing like 100 to 150 every year for friends, family, and for all summer, and then all the way through the winter to get us to the next time that we're raising them and processing. Yep. So we're really not without meat is what I try to go for.
Yep. That's good. That's really good. We always try to have a full freezer that way. If anything happens, we're prepared. So there is a time whenever meat birds are ready to be butchered. And that time is about 7 to 8 weeks. You can't really go wrong with that time. That's what we do, at least. 7 to
For
8
chicken.
weeks for us. For chickens, yes.
The lady that we take ours to, I ask her a lot of questions because she's doing exactly what I want to do, minus the whole butchering for other people and all that. But she's raising her own food, she's doing things like that. And she said 8 to 12 weeks is just the meat's the most tender during that time, which you said 7 weeks, so it's 7 to 12 weeks really is the best. And it's just whenever your birds get up to weight. I know some birds take longer to get up to weight, but definitely 7 to 12 weeks for chickens. For ducks, I have a couple numbers written down on here because it wasn't really straight up. 7 to 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and 18 to 19 weeks. And I think I got 3 different reasons because ducks go through so many molts and they're getting their pen feathers.
Yeah.
And those are awful to try to process with because, I mean, you're going to sit there, pluck every single one where every potential feather would be, and it's not worth it. Little side story here before I get into the turkey part of it. The lady that we take ours to, she said somebody brought her, or somebody said that they wanted to bring her the ducks to process. She said, I will do them, but do they have pen feathers? And he said, what are that? She said, if you pick them up, you will be able to feel them because it feels like, not like you're holding a porcupine, but like somewhere along those. Like it's not gonna like poke you and prick, but you will feel it. Like when a chicken's molting, if you know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
And he said, yes. She said, do not bring them to me. He brought them to her. She spent an hour and a half doing each bird, and he had 20 of them.
Yikes.
She charged him 3 times the amount because it took her so long, and she told him not to. And I don't blame her. If you're going to sit there and you're going to spend an hour and a half on each bird when it should only take you 15, 20, 30 max, that's wasting a whole lot of time. But turkeys, I have 9 to 21 weeks or around 5 months. That's where I did mine. Ours also grew on the smaller side because we did not have something set up for them when I was supposed to have something set up for them. We were kind of shuffling them around with the chickens, trying to get everything moved. But next year, they're going to have more space right off the bat. They're going to grow quicker, and we should be able to get them done probably around 4 or 5 months. But I think that's also the average. We just got ours done. They were just on the smaller end of meat this time around.
Yeah, and with age, one thing I know we monitor is, because we've done it before, if we let our meat chickens go too long, the meat will become tough. And then that's just not the best ever. We've eaten tough chicken before, but you definitely want a tender bird. So you don't want it to go too long, but you don't want it to be too soon. So there's like a good time there. Recently, with our meat birds, ours actually, the rooster started crowing, which is really weird for us because we had never had like meat birds crowing before, but that's recently what we've judged it on. Whenever the roosters start to crow, it's like, okay, they're about at the age where if they're crowing, they're ready to be, processed and put in the freezer, all that stuff. So that's how we judge it.
That's a great way to judge it. Mine, I don't think any of mine were, but I think we also did ours sooner than we probably should have, just because our first couple groups, we had other ones coming right behind it. So we had to like get them done a little bit on the sooner side. But you said the time frame is really important. The time frame is not a particularly small time frame. It is a quite large time frame that you can get them in. So with all of that, do plan how you are going to do it before you even get your birds. It saves you so much time and stress if you already have someone lined up before you get them than trying to rush and find somebody in the last week, because chances are that person's not going to be available if it's in the middle of summer or towards the end of the year when people are processing any extra animals that they have. Just try to have a plan beforehand and know if you're going to do it yourself. Ask if you want to try it yourself, get someone to show you the first couple, and then ask them to just monitor you while you ask them if you can use their equipment, and let them monitor you after they've shown you a couple times and you're kind of getting it down. Or if someone else is going to do it, then already had that plan in place.
Right.
Just so
Right.
you're not rushing, and it saves you so much.
Yep. And to add to that, just because we're coming down to the last couple minutes here of this episode, one thing that we do is whether you're processing it yourself or if you're doing it like you're sending it to a butcher, do yourself or the butcher a favor. Do not feed them that day when they're getting processed, because they'll eat it and it'll just set in their crop. They're not going to digest it, because chickens digest, or I don't know if it's all birds, but I know chickens digest through the night. It's probably all birds. But anyway,
I think it's birds.
Yeah, it probably is.
Because my ducks look chunkier at night than they do in the morning.
That food boob is really out there at night, and then it's just like, yeah, ready for the next day. It will just sit there in the crop, and then it'll be a mess whenever you're butchering it, because you got to get all the stuff that you're not going to eat, all of that out. So definitely don't feed them. You're also saving food too if you're not feeding them that day. But yeah, just do yourself or the butcher a favor with that. Don't feed them the day that you're going to take them to be butchered. So,
and what I do is, if I know that I'm going to take them at 2:00 on a Sunday, I'll feed them in the morning on Saturday, and then I'll feed them again around 3 or 4, just so they. I mean, I don't know if it helps like that, but I like to think that it does, even if it doesn't. That just doing that will hold them over until they go to be processed. So I'll feed mine twice that last day, and then they're off the very next day to be processed. And that way, everything's so much cleaner. And you want a clean bird. You don't want something that's going to be nasty and just not safe for you to eat in the end.
Yep.
Maybe not safe, but like, just you want it to be as clean as possible.
Yeah, you don't want a big mess whenever you're butchering. It's already a mess. You don't need any more. So, I think that's everything. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I think we got touched on everything that we wanted to touch on. Just absolutely, I want to stress this, and then I don't, but I definitely am. Make sure you have someone beforehand. I know I just said it a minute ago, but make sure you have someone in place to process your birds. Even if it's you, just make sure you already had that plan before you get them, because you don't need to have all the extra stress a week before getting them processed, and then you're not looking forward to it at that point if you're just so stressed about it, and then you end up finding somebody, or you can't do it, and the meat gets tough. It's just not worth it. So if there's any one thing that you take away from this video, definitely have someone in place to do anything beforehand.
Yep. So I think that is everything for today's episode. We hope you learned something from this. If not, then we're sorry, but we hope you did. We hope you took something from this.
Yes.
If you know someone,
and because this is going out on... Sorry, you keep going.
Okay.
I cut you off.
If you know someone who maybe wants to raise meat birds, you can share this video to them. They can watch it. If you have any questions, ask us, reach out to us. We have an Instagram, we have an email. You can leave it in the comments below. Anything, just reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help. We're here to teach others and educate y'all while we're also educating ourselves. So that's what we're here for.
Or tag us in posts from the farmyard. Tag us in post if you think that something's not right, or you can say, "Is this true?" And we can look back at the caption. We can see. We can message you, whatever it has to be. But also, because this episode is coming out on Saturday before Thanksgiving, I would like to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's watching, whether it's on Saturday, it's a little bit early, or if you're watching it later on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there.
Yep. We hope y'all have a great holiday. Thank you for joining us for another episode, and we will see you on the next one. See you guys.
See you guys later.